Arrowhead has just confirmed that the test servers for Helldivers 2 will be arriving in a couple of months. The CEO Shams Georgiani also mentioned that there will be more vlogs and streams in the near future, and discussed the possibilities of temporarily resetting all weapons, stratagems, and other stats back to the way it was at launch. If you find this video helpful at any point, tap the like button below, subscribe, and turn on the notifications as well. We have some exciting news about the future of Arrowhead. The CEO just confirmed test servers are on the way and should be arriving in a couple of months. There's a member on the official Helldivers 2 Discord that asked if the developers are interested in test servers. Shams responded with 100% yes in the works. That's not all, because the CEO responded to another player and said that it would be arriving in a few months because this person implied that Georgiani often promises a lot but nothing is fulfilled. The chief executive replied back with, "The test servers, more surveys, streams, and vlogs you can't quote me on. All but the test servers we should have up in a few months. Test servers I don't know timeline on." Alrighty, I believe this is one of Arrowhead's smartest choices yet. You know, given the numerous bugs and glitches as of late, and not to mention the weapons that were nerfed right out of the gate. So to see that they've confirmed test servers, it's amazing. I've been advocating for a test server for quite some time, and I'm sure many of you have been doing the same thing. The good news is that it's confirmed, although there's no specific release date just yet. Georgiani mentioned it would be a few months, so there's no exact timeline, but not only are they interested in test servers, they're also planning to provide more vlogs, surveys, and streams. We'll get into the stream information because they actually have a month that they plan on doing that, so we'll get into that later. But also, Georgiani said that the test servers will be available to everyone, and not just content creators or someone that's given special access. And I love that they decided to do this because I don't think content creators on YouTube should be the only ones given feedback, because the fact is, you all have a voice just as much as I do, and hell, I try to make sure you guys have a voice by posting your comments in every video, because you guys deserve to be able to speak your voice and just kind of let everybody know how you feel about the game, you know? And that's what I love about showing those top comments. I've been doing it for a while now, for about maybe 2 to 3 months, so it's cool to see that you guys still comment and, you know, check out the videos. I appreciate it. Anyways, the point is, you have an idea just as much as I do on where we would like the game to go, and it's great to know that we are all going to have a chance to try it out. However, I do not think this is going to be available for those on console, because usually it's always on PC. I mean, almost every test server is on PC. I don't believe I've seen a test server on console before, but I could be wrong. Nonetheless, this is the plan as of right now, and Georgiani also informed us that someone over at Arrowhead thought about reverting all the stats back to how it was at launch. This specific comment can be seen here, and Shams mentioned, "Someone had the crazy idea to temporarily revert all the stats to launch day stats and see how that would feel. But this is really test server shenanigans, not live environment stuff. The point is, we need to test more publicly." Imagine the surprise of logging in one day to find that everything has been reset to how it was at launch. It would be both incredible and a bit chaotic. Considering all the changes and work that the developers have made since the game's release, resetting everything would be a huge shift, but it might also be something we wouldn't mind given the numerous changes since the game's launch. Weapons like the railgun, slugger, and so on have seen a few adjustments that some would consider nerfs. The only weapon I would be sad to see reverted would be the incendiary breaker shotgun, because although it was recently nerfed, it had previously received a buff in patch 01.00.203, as you can see. Now I've given my 2 cents, what are your thoughts? Would you prefer the developers at Arrowhead to reset the stats back to how they were at launch, or would you be disappointed? Let me know by posting your responses below in the comments. Next, the CEO was asked whether or not they test weapons themselves. Georgiani's response was, "Yes, we have made more of a concerted effort to play more internally, but as you can probably surmise, there's an immense pressure to get more stuff out. Fixes, bugs, new content, enemies, futures, etc. This is a job at the end of the day for us. Every hour we play the game, it's 1 hour less in development, so we play some and then rely on wider testing. We've spoken about using test servers to get you all into the action to tell us the flamethrower is better or worse after an update. Okay, I will say it sounds like the flamethrower is going to take a little bit longer to be reverted or changed based off of what Georgiani mentioned here in this post, but at the same time he did say there was no specific date when we can see the test servers, so either or, if they plan on making some more adjustments before then to the flamethrower or whatever weapon at the time, then I'm sure as a community we will let the developers know exactly how we feel about it. Lastly, the chief executive talked a little bit more about test servers and said to another player that they do not want to be a data-driven company, which, by the way, I'm sure we all can agree on that one. So Mr. Georgiani responded to this player with, 100% we don't want to be a data-driven developer. We want to be a data-informed. It's entertainment in the end, not exact science. It's a balancing act. Test servers, A/B testing, and surveys will help guide gut feeling, which also can be honed. Well, hopefully it goes smooth for Arrowhead and they can get right back on track and build the player base back up to how it used to be. And no, I'm not talking about 450,000 players. That's insane. But I am talking about how it used to be, where there was like 100,000 players or so. On a different note, Georgiani was asked by a member on the Discord about how the CEO felt regarding the studio overhyping the update, specifically the Escalation of Freedom update, and whether they truly want to be known for being disingenuous. Their response to this was, we actually just mentioned that during the ongoing weekly review. I can mainly speak to intent. We want to make sure we don't overhype, leading to disappointment, or underhype, not getting people excited and back into the game. We absolutely don't want to come off as disingenuous, of course. It's always tricky balance. Sometimes we'll fail. With every release, we hopefully get better. I think it might be a fair point in this case, but we're still collecting feedback, so I haven't fully made up my mind on this. Right now, I would say they're in a make or break situation. They've got to get it right this time, because if they don't, I have a feeling things are going to go downhill pretty fast, which is undoubtedly stressful for them, right? It's easy for us players who only play the game. It's not like we're coding or creating games, so yeah, I do feel for them. It's not easy at all, I would imagine. I believe as a community, we sometimes think it's simple for the developers to just sit down, type in a few lines, and everything will just magically be fixed. But that's not how it works. I'm sure the devs would love it if it were that way, but it's not a reality. Now, since we're on the topic of the Escalation of Freedom update, Georgiani gave us a huge explanation as to why they decided to reduce the stats on the Incendiary Breaker shotgun. He replied to this member that brought up the post on X, where Shams essentially said the weapon was used 30% of all terminid missions. And so he replied to the player who brought this up and said, is it a problem if 30% are all running the same weapon? In some ways and not in other ways. If we make something super fun and people love it, it's of course a good thing. But we also want to all the stuff in the game be viable depending on the situation, difficulty, mission, circumstances. If one weapon is just an Omni tool, we probably have work to do. I know the immediate response from many is, you schmucks, don't nerf the weapon, that's when this happens, buff everything else so more people play with other stuff. And that's a super fair point, and personally I like that approach. I will say that approach has other consequences since systems are connected. It might, can, will lead to other parts getting knocked out of fun. With this response, I have nothing negative to say about it, because the developers are fully aware of everything, which is why they are in the process of creating test servers. They're also going through the surveys and, checking out all the submissions, right? This way, we can all get our hands on whatever they have planned to release. Sure, the nerfs were not ideal, and I was not a fan of them either. However, now that they have stated that they will bring public test servers to just about everyone, it is a huge win for Arrowhead. On that note, Pilestedt will officially be back in the studio next week. This was confirmed by Shams when he said, Johan is back in the office next week, and he'll likely tweet a bit then. We are aiming for streams in September-ish. Not only will Johan be back in the studio, but they're also planning on streaming possibly sometime in September, and I suspect next week Johan will also give us more insight about the changes, what's going on, and how they're going to go forward from here. I think that is what will happen. So yeah, this is pretty much it when it comes down to this specific information and everything else that we just went over, like the public test servers, Johan, the nerfs, changes, and all that. So If you guys have any thoughts about this, let me know down below in the comments by posting your responses. Type down something and just click send. I will definitely be checking out the comments. We're now going to continue on and talk about a brand new leak, so if you guys would like to go forward, definitely do so. The timestamps are down below like they are in every video. So with that said, check out the timestamps. Alrighty, so what we're going to do now is check out a brand new leak by Ironsights. Right here, these are some hidden planets that are potentially going to be a part of some sort of expansion. Yeah. So let's check it out. Starting off with number 1, Bug Homeworld, Bot Homeworld, Illuminate Homeworld, Mines of Zion, Forest Cathedral, Heroes Bayo, Coldith, Miasma 8, Darkwater Bay, Bug Quarantine, Meridian Leah, RP 426 Usheron, Outpost 31, Franklin's Retreat, and Protea 4. There is exactly 15 planets here that is supposedly, or might be, a part of an expansion. Right here in this post, Ironsights said these are a bunch of planets that the game recognizes but are not visible, likely for a map expansion. Then Ironsights continued on right underneath this post and said there are also 126 variants of the planet Kepler, and he does not know what they're for, so for whatever reason they have 126 different variants. Maybe test servers? Maybe not, because you know it was just announced a few moments ago, so unless they were already planning this ahead of time, maybe so, but I couldn't tell you. This right here is the only leak for today, but I hope you guys have found it interesting. I thought this was quite interesting. I'm really interested in the map expansion more than anything because the Illuminate Homeworld sounds insane, as well as the Bug and Automaton Homeworlds. What the heck? Well, we kind of have a clue, right? Cyberstan. We know as of right now this is their homeworld, but what if this is their second homeworld and they have another one that's just a few planets away? That would be insane. We're now going to move along and talk about the Impaler because I feel like this right here has got to be talked about. The Impaler is just insane. It's fun. I will say it's fun. It's fun to see your character fly up in the air, straight up in the galaxy and then come crashing down. But when it comes down to actually fighting the Impaler, it's difficult. It's not even the fun kind of difficult. It's just constant spamming, ragdolling, and all sorts of stuff. Some of you have even commented below telling me about it, and I agree. I absolutely agree with you guys. The most annoying part about it is that the Impaler can be literally so far away and still attack you, and I mean, it just spams constantly. I think what would actually work out pretty well is if you were able to attack one tentacle, right? Let's say you attack one of the tentacles and it goes down, it would only leave 2 up. So that way you have some sort of, I guess, leg room to like move around and go where you want without, you know, inflicting damage, or without you receiving damage, I should say. The fact is, this is not how it works, because if you do take out one tentacle, it doesn't matter because it will pop right back up shortly afterwards, and it sucks. So much that the Impaler is worse than the bots. Imagine that. Yeah, it's terrible, but I will say that I enjoyed the bots ragdolling me way more than the Impaler because, at least with the bots or the automatons, I can somewhat move around without any issues. So anyways, my voice is getting pretty raspy. This is your Helldivers 2 news. If you guys would like to be featured in the next video, all you have to do is comment down below. The first comment is by Hans Klopik. Instead of thinking of the game being easy or hard, they need to look at it as fun or frustrating. The second comment is by Kasnip's Adventure. No wonder they think the game would be too easy if they gave an AR 10 more bullets per mag. They test everything on difficulty 5, nothing above that exists, at least in the eyes of the balance team. And last but not least, we have Goo Gumby. Gee whiz, guys, we have so many people telling us our changes are great, so it's not so obvious who we should listen to, is it? Here's an idea. Test the guns on a difficulty higher than 5. You guys, the two, Kasnip Adventure, Goo Gumby, and even Hans, you guys are all right. I mean, literally, you guys are on the money, on point. They need to do a lot more testing. They need to figure out what's fun and also frustrating, but not overwhelm us with all these nerfs and bugs and all this bullcrap that we just don't need. I mean, seriously, it's ridiculous. But hopefully things will get better once this next patch arrives, and then after that, the test servers. But anyways, thank you guys so much for supporting the channel, commenting, giving this video a like. I appreciate all of that. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll see you guys in the next video.